Today we're looking at the LG QNED81. This model is the 65-inch version released earlier this year. Hello and welcome to Box, where we unbox, review and demonstrate the latest tech. I found the unboxing process to be fairly simple, however I would definitely recommend having some help, especially if you plan to mount it to the wall. Once the top of the box is open, you'll be able to pull the top part over the TV, leaving some packaging and the TV itself. You'll find some bits in the top and the rest packed away with the back of the TV. Inside the box you'll find the three pieces that make up the stand, the relevant screws that go with it, the remote and included batteries, a power cable, 3 cable management pieces, various documentation, and of course the TV. On the rear you'll find a VESA mount as well as all the inputs and outputs. The back has a smooth finish with a simple line texture in dark grey as well as some cooling vents. On the side you'll find 4 HDMI ports. Ports 3 and 4 are 2.1 and both support 4K at 120Hz, but only port 3 supports eARC. You also get a common interface slot and a USB port. On the back you'll find an optical audio out, LAN for Ethernet, satellite ports and another USB port, as well as the power supply. The stand was fairly simple to attach, with the instructions being quite clear and concise. It's not particularly heavy but does add some weight, with the TV coming in at 24.5 kg without the stand and at 26.2 kg with. You'll need a Phillips head screwdriver with a standard bit and the necessary screws are supplied with the TV. I did find that I had to apply a lot of force to get the screws in, but once they're in, they sit very securely. LG also provides these cable management pieces that can run down into the stand with the cap placed over the top. However, the included power cable is quite short and I found that when I ran it through the stand, it didn't reach my power socket. That being said, it shouldn't be too hard to replace the cable with a longer one. I did find the TV to be very stable on the stand, but given how tall it is, there is a fair amount of wobble. The bezels are very slim, meaning the TV will blend into any environment. The side profile is quite flat, however the stand does protrude out quite a lot. The TV clocks in at under 4.5 centimeters in depth, but the stand measures 33.6 centimeters in depth, meaning you'll need a pretty large TV stand for it. The QNED81 has compatibility with pretty much all the major streaming platforms and channels, such as Netflix and Disney+, but it's also compatible with GeForce Now, Utomic and Blacknut for those interested in cloud gaming capabilities. The remote is quite standard and has some nice features such as a scroll wheel as well as a pointer mode. I did find the pointer mode drifted a lot when in use, so I much prefer the traditional directional buttons. The build quality is decent, the remote having a nice weight to it, but the glossy plastic does attract fingerprints. Now onto the interesting stuff. The display uses the Alpha 7 Gen 5 AI processor, which is the mid-range spec. The QNED81 supports UHD content up to 120fps in 10-bit and 4K high dynamic range and hybrid log gamma. What this means is you get a beautifully clear and color-rich image. The local dimming performs pretty well, with the darker parts of the image getting close to black, although there is still a blue tint with some media, especially older content. That being said, the black uniformity is even and consistent. I didn't find any use cases where I noticed any light bleed or blooming coming through, so the QNED81 delivers an impressive clarity. The out-of-the-box calibration is brilliant for most modes, my favourites being the standard and filmmaker settings. I did however find that the sports setting was far too bright, as is often the case, so you'll likely find it necessary to turn down the brightness when using this setting, which also means you'll have to switch eco mode from auto to off. Motion smoothing was also far too strong in my opinion, so I would recommend adjusting that as well. The QNED81 does an excellent job with upscaling, with even 1080p footage coming out crystal clear. However, I did find when downscaling 4K footage to 1080 in YouTube there was a decrease in clarity. This should realistically only affect users with internet connections too weak to consistently watch 4K content though, as most users won't find any benefit in downscaling anyway. The QNED81 uses an IPS panel, so the viewing angles are quite strong with only minor distortion at the extremes. The glare on the other hand is quite strong, as the QNED81 uses quite a glossy screen. You will find it performs best in darker environments. In bright situations, there's really no way to avoid glare even when looking from a direct angle. The glossy screen does have its advantages though, with the colours coming through unfiltered and vibrant. There's a range of different sound modes on offer, with some being geared towards gaming or geared towards cinematic modes. I found that most of the settings sounded quite clear and had a decent dynamic range. The AI Sound Pro setting can feel more immersive in some uses, but I did find that the standard setting to be the best in most use cases, as the others often boosted too much in the high end. Now here's an example of how the TV sounds at half volume in its various listening modes.
In this universe, and trying to understand that.
Over the centuries, enigmatic little red dot in the sky invigorated imaginations of millions of people. What could be going on in that distant land?
The overall goal of the whole Mars program, did Mars ever actually have life?
The TV supports 120Hz gameplay, so if your console is capable of putting out higher frame rates, you'll be able to enjoy them in all their glory. There's also full HDR 10-bit functionality, so you'll be able to enjoy a nice deep dynamic range with vibrant colours. The TV doesn't support Dolby Vision at all though. The TV uses FreeSync in its game optimizer mode and performs quite well when using a variable refresh rate. Here you can compare between the game optimizer on versus off. The menu system is nice and simple with a standard layout. Most settings can be adjusted to your liking. However, I found the out-of-the-box calibration to work extremely well in most situations. The colours, contrast and brightness were all well attuned. Of course, you might find it necessary to change any of these depending on your environment or preferences, and so you'll find these in the advanced display settings menu for any tweaks you need. For gaming, I found the game optimizer in game mode the best. For watching films or cinematic content, I quite like the filmmaker mode, although some might find it too dark or that it gives too much of a yellow tint. And for any other uses, I found standard to be the best all-rounder. While the QNED81 is by no means a budget model, its price affords a good value while retaining key performance indicators often attributed to higher spec models. I found that the TV kept up extremely well, and I was especially surprised by its gaming performance. I also found the clarity, contrast and colour displayed at a high standard, and I really can't fault it at this price point. The only major downside for me was the glare. Unfortunately, if your environment is kept quite bright, you might find that the TV is too reflective for you, but for most users I really don't think that this is a deal breaker, and I'm sure you'll find the TV an absolute delight to use. So what do you think about the LG QNED81? Let us know down below in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Box, where you'll find loads of hands-on reviews for all the latest tech. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.